Am I about to sit here and tell you that men and women just might communicate differently? Yes, I am. Am I also sitting here saying to you, if you are a woman, that you should not be doing a man's job? Yes, I am. And that might make me delusional. And I am taking a break from this mess behind me. I'm packing, so it's very messy over here. Please excuse that. But we're talking about men and women, because we talk about that very often on this channel. Okay. We talk about men, women, dating, relationships, science stuff, evolution stuff, psychology stuff, spiritual stuff. We talk about all that kind of stuff on this channel. Okay. So if you like that kind of stuff, then you should stick around. You should stick around. Because these are the conversations that need to be had in a world that is so confused. So confused. And where relationships are suffering because of that confusion. And where young people and older people too, are really struggling to find their soulmate. They are struggling in this thing that you call dating. They don't know how to date anymore. They don't know what a woman means. They don't know what a man means. They don't know how we interpret the opposite sex differently. They don't know the differences of our biology, of our brain chemistry. So, I talk about that stuff. And if you like to talk about that stuff too, like I said, you should stick around. So, honestly, what this video is today is about how we communicate differently as women versus men. I mean, that is a profound statement, I know. But I'm going to break down some of the ways that we tend to communicate differently than our masculine counterparts. Okay? First way is verbal communication. And us women, we tend to use more words and express more emotions when we speak. Why? Because we have a larger limbic system in our brains. So we're wired for a more emotional response than men are, in order to be more loving and nurturing as women. And so we tend to use more words and express more emotions when we speak, and men tend to be more straightforward and to the point, more linear, more directional. Makes sense? I mean, just reflect for yourself. Anytime that you've ever had any kind of conversation with a male, right? Men tend to be A, B, and C in their conversation. Although there is that exception of those, few guys that just go on and on and on and, kind of make no points at all, but maybe a lack of social skills. But we also tend to emphasize words such as we. We're more likely to use the kind of like communicative we language, because we emphasize the importance of group identity and inclusiveness, right? While men may use more I language, emphasizing individual achievement and independence, because masculinity is about independence and survival and being more competitive, so being more independent. So it only makes sense that they tend to use more individual words, and we tend to be more communicative. And if you think back to when we were considered hunters and gatherers, women were the gatherers, we formed communities, we gathered in social groups, and our survival really depended upon our social ties and maintaining those social relationships with one another. So we tend to put more emphasis on just the language of community, what we do, and being more inclusive and less confrontational, right? Women have been less confrontational from the very beginning. Why? Because if you kind of think about it, our survival kind of depended upon us not being so confrontational, just kind of shoving things away and not really coming face to face with those issues. If we had issues with our guys, or if we had issues with someone in our group, we had to kind of suppress that, because again, our survival literally depended upon it. I mean, remember whenever women couldn't even work? We couldn't work. We didn't have access to our own money. And so we really had to be people pleasing and just kind of walk on eggshells a bit. I mean, from a certain perspective, I could see how women had to kind of walk on eggshells around not just men, and this doesn't make men bad guys, okay? It's just the way that it was, okay? It's the way that we were conditioned for so many years. So it doesn't make men bad. It's just that that's the way that it was. We had to kind of, be careful with our words and making sure that our closest relationships, those that we most strongly depend on, very close to us. So that way, we would be able to feed ourselves and our children. So anyways, I kind of got off track there. But that's the first difference of how we communicate differently than men. So another point that I want to bring up for how we communicate differently is our nonverbal communication. And we tend to use more facial expressions and facial gestures to convey our thoughts and feelings. And men, they tend to rely more on body language and posture to communicate their dominance or confidence. We are more expressive with our hands, and we tend to maintain more eye contact than men do. But women, we just tend to use more of our facial muscles to exude happiness, joy, playfulness, or sadness, sorrow, guilt, shame. We just tend to work out those muscles in our face more than men do. And word on the street is that if you give a guy a dose of oxytocin, he tends to be better able to read subtle facial cues. So it is because of oxytocin that we have that beautiful gift of being able to pick up on cues better than men can. And again, back to that point of, having to read and understand the language of babies who could not talk or speak or use words for themselves. All they could do was cry and make noises. So our brains are just better wired for that kind of language. Makes a whole lot of sense. But on the flip side, a man's brain is better wired for hunting. Being on a mission and using their laser vision to hunt, to collect food to bring home to their families in order to protect and provide. Isn't science amazing? Not always. Science is not amazing when it comes to politics, but I digress. It is amazing when it comes to the biology of men and women and how we are built differently and our brain chemistry. Okay, moving on. Oh yes, how men and women communicate differently. Point 3. Listening. Oh yes. I know you probably have a man in your life that you say often, "You're not listening to me." We all have that. We all have that man in our life. Whether it be a romantic partner, an uncle, a father, a brother, a coworker, a boss, just a male in general. But us women, we tend to listen more attentively and empathetically with emotion, right? That emotion attached to it, that emotionality there, because it's who we are. We're built to nurture. We're built to be more empathetic, empathizing, more caring to others. We tend to listen more attentively, empathetically, seeking to understand the other person's feelings and perspectives. We want to be more open. We are more open. We're the more open energy, as feminine energy. We are the more open and fluid. So we tend to want to understand more about what someone else is saying to us and the feelings that they're emulating behind those words. But men, they tend to focus more on putting the fire out, the problem solving, the providing solutions, sometimes providing unsolicited advice. Oh, brother, literally. It's sometimes can be such a pain to me how men give unsolicited advice sometimes. Sometimes the closest men to us, because there's that safety container in the middle of that you kind of just feel like, I can give my partner or whatever they are to you unsolicited advice because I know what's best, and I can understand this from knowing how the male brain works and how men just communicate and behave differently than us, but it doesn't really dismiss the fact that it can definitely sometimes be very irritating to just consistently hear unsolicited advice for our problems from, the men that we trust and rely on the most. So that's kind of where we see men and women create that friction in their communications with each other. But women may also use more encouraging and affirming language, more positive, affirming words, while men may be more likely to interrupt or provide unsolicited advice. That's what I just said! That's what I just said, literally. Okay. Yes, I know too many men like this. And this is not, me shaming them or shaming even that quality in them. But like I said, I know it can be so frustrating. We just tend to use more words as women. We actually speak, I think, like on average, 10,000 more words a day than a male does. So men actually, they sometimes tend to interrupt with when we're speaking about our problems, and give us the solutions on what to do to fix those problems, because in his brain it's what he would do to fix those problems, but not understanding that there's this gap here where, he's a male and women need to just sometimes vent to the men in their life in order to feel a sense of relief, right? Just feel a sense of safety that she can let out all of her crazy frustrations and things that are just building up inside of her. That safe space to let those things out. We need that. It actually stimulates estrogen in us to have that release of emotion and a release of frustrations, and especially brownie points if we can release that onto someone that we feel safe enough with, where we don't feel judged, by the things that are in our minds and maybe in our hearts, like just some of the crazy thoughts that we have and irrational thoughts, because at the end of the day, they are irrational thoughts and feelings. I mean, I just had a blow up this morning. Okay, I got pretty frustrated. I was like kind of yelling and raising my voice. And then about 30 minutes later, I started crying. That's what it was. It was pent up stress. That's all it was pent up stress that needed to be released. And so it came out as complaints and overreaction and yelling. And also, I'm kind of in that menstrual phase of my cycle. Oops. So yeah, I do tend to get more irritated at that time. And so it was just pent up stress that came out that way. And then after some time passed, it came up as literal, like I don't want to say sadness, but just overwhelm, maybe. It was just like overwhelm and just, I think, too much stimulation going on in my brain. So, it came out as emotion after it came out as kind of just negativity and complaining. And I hold myself very accountable when I do have those moments, because I do not like to complain. I do not like to have any negative energy attached to me. I don't like to make a habit of being, as what people normally say as bitchy. I don't like that word, but that's what, just the common phrase that is used, thrown around. Yeah, to do that. I do hold myself accountable. So at the end of the day, it's all just irrational feelings. They just come out. They come up, they come out, and then they are gone with the wind. Like I said, I mean, I cried after all that. So it helped to give that extra kick of relief, you know. I don't know where I was. Oh, I was just saying that men, they're not very good listeners usually, because they're looking for the problem and giving unsolicited advice. And we tend to be better listeners in order to empathize with our speakers better. And yeah, we're just, again, we're more communicative. We're more relatable as women. We have this sense of authenticity within us, and we are more easily relatable as the softer gender, right? Okay, I'm gonna have to get going soon, actually. So, on to my last point for this video of how men and women communicate differently. And that is relationship building. We tend to prioritize building and maintaining social relationships, which is what I mentioned at the beginning of this video, often through sharing personal information and offering emotional support. Hello, you're here on my channel. That's what I do here. I share a lot of vulnerable things from my own life. I'm just on here just giving you vulnerable energy. You know, I'm just giving vulnerable energy. Even just the whole idea of putting myself out here online, speaking about something that I'm so passionate about. And I know you guys see me in a lot of my videos. Just the passion that comes from me in some of the things that, like some of the topics that I discuss. The passion that just is running through my veins. But anyway, you're here on this channel, and we share vulnerability, we share information here, we share relatability, we share experiences. That's how we communicate with other women. We tend to offer better emotional support. And by the way, if you need emotional support or dating and relationship advice or understanding your femaleness, make sure you send me an email, which will be listed down in the description box. And I'm here to offer you all the advice, all the emotional support, all the love, all the guidance, all the tactics and skills and information for you to navigate through your situation. So go ahead, send me a DM, send me an email. I'm here for you, babe. Or men. Men, you are more than welcome to email me as well. Oh, yes. So we tend to share personal information and offer emotional support. We tend to share relatable experiences, while men focus more on achieving shared goals and demonstrating competence. Right? Masculine energy says, I can do it. I can do this. I can achieve this. Masculine energy says, there's the problem. Here's what I'm going to do to fix that problem. Women may use more indirect communication strategies, such as hinting, using nonverbal cues, while men prefer direct communication. Oh my God, this goes back to exactly what I was just saying on TikTok, because I was talking about women initiating, how women should not be initiating with men, but rather be inviting men, charming men, and flirting with men, and not being so direct with men, okay? And I was just talking about this on a video because I had a question about how, sometimes you have to bait men into making the first move, especially in a world where, men and women are so confused about the roles that they have to play, right? Just absurdity. And so, anyways, this literally is exactly sums up what I'm trying to, the point I was getting across in that video. It was more about flirting and not initiating with men, but rather not being so direct. Like, not, it's not, it's avoiding direct communication with them, and instead strategizing, providing an open door for them to make their advances, saying what you want and what you desire and how you feel, rather than, I want a relationship with you, I see this for us, I want to marry you. That's more of the masculine approach. My cat is, oh, she's crying to get it in the door. She hates when I close the door on her, because this is her castle. This is her castle, okay? And we better all bow down to the queen. Anyways, I'm getting off track. But yes, we tend to use more indirect communication because that is the more feminine approach to communication. We tend to hint more than men and tend to use more body language and nonverbal cues when we want men to do something for us or pursue us or take initiative towards us. You know what I mean? So you can check out that video on my TikTok. Actually, I may make a whole YouTube video about flirting and charming and inviting men, but not being so direct with them in your communication, but rather just like being feminine and flirty. I'm naturally a very flirty girly. I'm just very naturally charming and flirty. It just automatically like turns on when I'm around men. I'm just like playful, flirty, and charming. But that does not mean that I can't have like extreme intellectual conversations. In fact, I love that. I love intellectually conversating and being intellectually stimulated by anyone in general, but yes, especially with men. I love intellectual stimulation. So it's not to say that I am not about, that I can't give A, B, and C advice or, powerful solutions and tactics. Of course I can as a woman, but it's just that when it comes to the more playful side of life and being a female and embracing my playfulness and femaleness, then yeah, I am not so direct. I bait men, I invite them, I respond to them, I listen, I give them, space to provide their solutions. I give them space to speak, maybe speak about just their day or things in general. I give them that space. I don't know the point I was getting to, because to be honest, it's all kind of meshing together now. But I have to get going. So anyways, again, this is how men and women tend to communicate differently. If you guys want to see another video on for my women on here, for my women who want to embrace more of their femininity, especially around men, then if you guys want to see more tactics and skills on how to be more approachable and be more playful and flirty and charming and alluring with men, which invites them in, let me know. Leave a comment down below, or send me a DM or an email. Of course, follow me on all my platforms if you're not already. I do have an email list as well, which I send advice out, like free advice, every single week. So you can, sign up for that and join my community there. You'll get free advice from week to week. So yeah, I think that this is all that I'm going to say for this video, and I got to get going. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure you subscribe, and I love you. Mwah.